This video is brought to you by SimpliSafe. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. This G42 1450 makes 1,000 horsepower and 3-rotor right at its pinnacle. But what if Garrett came out with a turbo that might be slightly, massively better? So the G42 is what Garrett would consider their mid-frame sized turbo, and it is, or was, the largest one of that size. You'd have to go up to the G50, that size of a turbo. That G55, 57, they're all the same frame, large frame. But Garrett came out with recently the G45, and it is the same size as the G42. Its dimensions are almost identical, except for in all the ways that matter. This is the largest mid-frame turbo that they currently make, unless the 47 is, and I didn't know that. This is so much more rotary specific. It just hurts my soul how amazing this is. Rotaries love the size of this is bigger than the size of this in. That's a very good general rule of thumb for rotaries, because exhaust on rotaries is so much hotter that you need more space to get it out of there. And you basically can run a much bigger wheel and get the same results that a piston engine if this was much smaller. What is this? Well, this is the G45 1500. And oddly enough, this is actually smaller than the G42 1450. This is a 76 millimeter across compressor, but once it goes in, it gets and expands into a much larger compressor in the backside. But the actual hole is 76 millimeters. On the G42, it's 79, so it's 3 millimeters, which matters, smaller than the large turbo. Where it makes the biggest difference is on the exhaust side. This is 80 something, 82, 83 out. That one is only 76 or smaller. This has the right dimensions. We will have more flow, allow more air to get out of the engine, and a slightly smaller inlet, meaning more low end. Low end, high end, better turbo. So the best thing about this for anybody that has a G42 is that the hot side in particular is identical. The way it bolts in is identical. You have to use the correct hot side, but what I mean is that it uses this same flange. It's the same flange distance from here down to the header. The same thing with the inlet, but because we welded on Vibrant second gen flange, I have to weld that back on. So we're gonna compare just how big the turbo is on the inside. As we get ready to make our journey across the country, I want to make sure we keep what's out here, except for the truck, away from being in here. That's where SimpliSafe has always got my back, whether it's the door sensors or the remote monitoring or their own service that has responsiveness. It's incredible the amount of comprehensive safety I get for these last couple years using SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe is very straightforward to use. It's so easy and fun. You can actually start with a setup that you want and then add pieces as you go. Like if I wanted another camera or an outdoor camera, as they release new functions and features, you can add them to your system as you go. The best part about having a system that is so comprehensive is that they have 24/7 monitoring now covered by their Fast Protect technology, which is exclusive to SimpliSafe. It's impressive. It handles all of the potential threats while I'm here or away. It is incredible, and it's less than $1 a day, so it's almost half of any of the other traditional old security systems, and there's no contract. So if you're at home a lot, which sometimes I've occasionally dreamed to be, and you can choose to turn on and off SimpliSafe as you go, that's how flexible the system is. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for the Fast Protect plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/RobDahm to customize yours. This one's definitely smaller. For certain piston engines, that's desirable. There's a lot of ratio between how big it is here and how big it comes out. This is even bigger here and even bigger up here. So you can just tell from the side profile as well as just sheer output. This is much bigger. This is a V-band housing, just like it was on the other one. Nothing's changed there, but you can't just bolt this on. This is meant for this shape. You can, in fact, put that on this turbo. And you can see the problem already. Look at that space. It's very inefficient. You actually gain efficiency the closer you get this to this. Look at that is tight. The ratio of how wide it is here to how wide it is back here And you can see that the ratio from here to here is way less. I personally can't look at this and go, yeah, no, yeah, this is what I want. I still know just simply inlet. And another really interesting is look at how many more blades this one has. All these small details give you characteristics about these. This might be better for your build than my build, but for a rotary, I can tell you this is going to be absolutely incredible. Why am I unboxing something else? Well, there is something more to this situation. That is at 1.15. That is a 1.28. 1.28 AR is actually area in relation to radius. Say right here, this is a radius of 2. 2 divided by 1.28, it better be this much area. It's a ratio, area to radius. A bigger number means it maintains a bigger area as it goes in closer. So air coming in is more around the entire turbo and can come in like this. This one has more of a sharper attack angle. I've tested in the past, and you do change response subtly, and you change back pressure subtly. Say you're on this 115, and you're like, man, my back pressure's 30 PSI above where I want it to be. Going to a 128 will not solve your problems. This is fine tuning, getting the best response and highest flow. This is a massive tuba, right? Which one is a bigger AR, this one or this chonky one?
You asking me?
I'm asking everybody, but yeah, I want you to know which one's bigger. Which one's got a bigger AR?
I'm gonna assume this one.
Because you know there's a reason for that. Yeah, it's counterintuitive. This is a 1.25 AR. This is a 1.28 AR. If you were to look this far away inside of here, this radius would be smaller. They're not apples to apples. It's just relative to that turbos. I have the G40 and you have the G45. We both have the same AR. It doesn't compare. The only thing that might compare is the 42s to the 45s, because if the radius is the same, the AR is something to compare to. I believe that a 128 on here will flow equivalently to a 115 on here. I'm going to say it again. I think that a bigger one on the small guy will flow the same as a smaller one on the big guy, meaning that we get even more response. We don't need the 128. We already have more airflow because of the size here. I want to force that air into that turbo. I don't want to have massive AR. I want it tight and responsive. I think the 115 will be the right thing. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to exhaust back pressure and dyno performance. I know on the 4-rotor, swapping these around screwed up my boost control completely. That's how much of a difference it makes, like 2 to 5 PSI. On this is fine tuning. There we go. Pound for pound, these are both 1.28s. From in here, this looks actually a little bit bigger inside. Right now, bolts in to the same spot, and you can see it's gonna be a world of difference. That was as promised. The downpipe and the inlet bolt in, and they are the same dimensions regardless of AR. I got that one off. A little oil restrictor built into there, and my penis is off there. Garrett doesn't make these, so you have to get these from ATP, or another solution you can do is TurboSmart makes a pressure regulator for this as well. All of our phallic objects are now on the center rotating assembly. I just want to dedicate this entire video to this. This is the cause of everything good and bad in my life. I literally have built all my cars around the turbo. I love Garrett Turbo so much. I'm not paid or anything like that. I just live and breathe this. Because of turbos, ever since I saw what they did in high school, my life's never been the same. You say rotaries, I would almost argue it's turbos. Here comes a very beautiful big moment for me. We're gonna go ahead and lop this piece off. Let's see how flat that cut was. It's got a little bit of cleanup needed. Nonetheless, still pretty pleased with that. Wiped it down with some serious acetone, cleaned it all up. I am going to be welding the backside first, because otherwise you're gonna see the tacks and see my wrong settings at first, and then once I get used to it, then I'll bring it around front and it'll look perfect. The top piece is 80 thousandths thick at its thinnest. Bottom piece is very thick, so I went to 90. I might have to go a little bit more to get it to seal together. Never go even hotter. So I started all the way back here. I just went over a little bit because there was tons of crap in there. And my skills started coming back as I went around. Now, this area is grinded just a little bit, you know, so I could get that cleaner surface. But this is the real deal, the result of remembering, okay, here's where I'm putting the puddle and whatnot. And then you can see my skills getting better and better, at least from an aesthetic standpoint, all the way in this area. And always can be improving, but by the time it made it to the front, it was presentable. Could have gone bigger dimes and all that sort of shit. That's not the point of what I was trying to do. I want a new turbo. Joel can confirm, how many swear words did I say?
None.
None. It's a big day for me. Fuck! So we waited like 2 hours and this thing is still holding a little bit of temperature. It's good. Now is the moment I'm the most excited for. This is my canvas to work with. First step of the dream is that this surface area right here, where all the air passes through the intercooler, will be butt to nut with the bumper. Right now the bumper is a hole right here, and air can come up here. Once it comes up here, this kind of blocks it a little bit, but then it comes over through here, and there's no resistance once the air goes up over the bumper to go around like this. That's just not gonna work. Same thing with these, is that these were a good attempt, but there's about 2 inches of space here, there's a gapping here, and then of course, this whole area is a problem. Speedflow's lines are amazing, but what we're gonna do is, we do wanna get this thing up and over here. So these low profile ones are great, but we actually want that up here, and then have this have like a piece that comes down to the bumper. Air going into the front bumper can only go through a cooler. End of story. We got a special delivery from Santa, even though it is the middle of spring. This is all the good stuff that we need to keep moving. Premium Blue heavy duty, that's diesel engine oil. That is not close to 1040 or 530. This is literally a totally different type of oil. Nobody tells you that initially, but this is the good stuff that we use in the truck.
Right here.
And that truck is about to go from here to Michigan, whatever other shenanigans and back. And this is probably the hardest working oil out of all of our oils. I mean, the Rotaries push them in bursts, but this stuff, we speed when we're towing. And 2 cars, uphill.
3 guys.
Thankfully, Valvoline sent us more of this. We end up normally buying it just because we make sure that we do it in the correct intervals for towing. And then comes ATF. It's used in our all-wheel drive system. The ATF's used in all of our T56 transmissions. It's really odd.
That's for the inside.
Yeah. Valvoline has been really promoting their hybrid vehicle oils and lubricants and fluids, which surprisingly enough, electric motors particularly, do need coolant. They do need different lubrications and stuff like that. This is kind of hot off the press. We're gonna put it in the Insight. Look at this. This is 020, which is what the Insight uses, but it's formulated, full synthetic for hybrid vehicles. So they're planning for all those start and stops, all the water that accumulates because it can't burn off. You get condensation, anti-foaming, all the different things that you would want for a starting and stopping vehicle. This is the oil specifically for it.
That's sick.
Yeah, that is really cool. Trap and lock technology that prevents damage from fuel and water that gets suspended in the oil because the car doesn't get hot enough to have all the proper processes occur. I went to the lab, and that's literally what we were talking about, is that the oil and the water separates on traditional motor oils, and Valvoline's was like more protection. It lasted longer keeping emulsified, which means mixed, and preventing just pure water from going into your engine. This stuff has that standard. And then of course you can't go wrong with the squeezy bottles. I have this as my problem. This is like a Miata or RX-8. I don't know exactly which bolt, and it definitely doesn't fit between the 2 pieces that are supposed to wedge it in place. Instead of trying to cut those and grind it and then change the car, and then if this bolt breaks, I decided to make my own. This style is less popular than this style. What I mean by that is this is considered an H bolt. I should say Batman, not H. This is that D. And so this is the older style, so it's gonna be harder for you to find the 2. But what I've done is I actually drilled out the D, prepped the surfaces, so it looks like that, both the black oxide or whatever the surface is on this bolt, as well as centering that hole right there. That then got me over to the grinder, and there you go. We've got something that
Make the D.
to make the D. And look at that tight interference right there. That is exactly what I wanted. And the best part is these bolts use the same exact nut that was on there. They're the same diameter, and in fact they even have a longer shank, which means, you know, more stability, I would imagine, because a little bit of wiggle on the threads. What I have to do is make sure I weld this in line with that, otherwise I'm going to cause myself tons of problems. So now every single bolt on this car from a suspension adjustment standpoint is the exact same.
Here is our oil return for the turbo, and it is burnt up. This is the black nylon stuff that we had on there before. Crusty, but it's been doing its job. And speed flow, this is the black stainless stuff, the PTFE, so a lot better for the heat. This is the front splitter. We are going to put these vents at 10 degrees, and this thing doesn't fit in our bender, and obviously the thing's huge.
I know that Joel's secretly filming me, not just to share it with you guys, but he has been begging for what's in my tube.
Yeah.
I can't put that on the spot, but Joel has wanted nothing more than for the pop-ups to be wrapped. He doesn't care if the car crashes, runs, or at all that. He just wants that to look aesthetic. But I'm gonna go ahead and do a little baby montage of wrapping these things. I thought that this like got oil on it and separated, but Joel reminded me that maybe some films come with like a protective layer. It feels like a saran wrap, so that's pretty sick if that's the case, because black is so easy to destroy. That layer cuts so bad. I want you guys to see the unveil of this. So I did not know that the new black 2080 comes with this stuff. I'm probably old to this market, but it's like a saran wrap. It is very gratifying to see. That looks pretty good.
Let's put them on the car.
No, we're good.
Oh my gosh. They've never been black, have they?
No.
Not since I've been here.
Not in California have these things been this way. Since I spun out. It shit's on the
rest of the car.
The rest of the car, yeah. The problem is, if I wrap a lot of this car, I'm gonna wrap the rest of the car and never finish it. So there's kind of like.
No. I already talked to Abe, so he's coming in.
Yeah, we need
whether
Abe
you
to
want
paint
or
the
not.
car, not just wrap the car and kind of. Look at that. Looks good. That looks really good.
You're just trying to get at doing the bumper, huh?
I'm using your own words against you. I want to do the bumper, but then as soon as I do the bumper of it, we'll just wrap the rest of it. I know myself. You know me. I know me.
But I know you don't have the patience to do it all.
Well, you always have to watch me, dude. Like,
The camera's not even on.
It's my job.
the worst part is I would believe that.
Dun dun dun. TBD. No, TBC. Yeah, TBC. The car is looking ready for a first fire up. Now, we do have a whole new turbo on it. It is honestly a massive list of things we've improved. But I'm gonna go ahead and grab my laptop. We'll fire it up. Fired up that quick. She's taking forever to warm up, which is kind of funny. With the oil line literally touching the exhaust manifold, we moved it away from that, and so the oil isn't being preheated anymore. It's straight up the oil that you're going to get from the cooler, and we have a thermostat in there too, so we'll get the best possible temperature from the oil. It's pretty close. I'm gonna go ahead and do one little lap and see what it tells us. That is very different. The car is completely different, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I'm just like blown away that even handling, I mean, we've changed so much that the car feels like a completely different car. I shit you not. This is not some YouTuber bullshit. It literally is different in so many ways. The turbo seems way more responsive. We'll make sure the data says that. But like, I even had a lot of bump steer. I had a lot of weird bump steer that I got to fine tune. Those tires were sticking. Looking through the logs here, the wheel speeds worked. You can actually tell as I'm driving around, there's all the wheel speeds, and you see the rears kind of slip up a little bit right there. We'll go down to here, and sure enough, there's the front wheel speed and then the rear too. Clean and accurate. It looks like rear right gets some interference at about 10 miles an hour and cuts off right there, but the other two, they go to about 2 miles an hour before they stop reading. But the other two start kicking in at 1.9 miles an hour. So having old school technology kicking in at 1.9 miles an hour is very, very accurate. So while I was at a Shania Twain concert that I was dragged to, I absolutely did not want to go. I loved it. Work was getting done here at the shop, and so Isaiah got the shroud that I've been hoping for with the front. You'll see it hidden within the bumper. Ooh. That actually looks like a Aston Martin race team thing. The air comes in, and
it can't go anywhere else.
Yeah,
besides through the fins.
It has to go through the fins. There's a little bit of theory behind also like the expansion of the air, because that means it slows it down, which makes it go slower through the coolers, blah, blah, blah. That's not our concern, but it does end up doing that. So the air hits this high pressure from the front of the car and then goes all the way up into the top of the intercooler and cannot get around that, because before the air could go up through here, and then of course it's going to find the path of least resistance. So we need that air hammering the front of the intercooler to get as much through to the radiator. I think our biggest, weakest link is the radiator being behind the intercooler. That's the nature of front mount intercoolers, but we're up for that challenge. And I think that this is going to give us our best chance for doing a couple really solid laps. We are all working our hearts out, and I'm really happy with this. But one of the things we're going to do is move the surge tank. We're going to move it back to this corner. One, lower center of gravity. Two, crisscross from me and crisscross from the heaviest part of the car. So when we corner balance it, think of it like a table, the opposite corners are actually the heavier ones. And so when we move the other two shorter legs of the car up, we'll get a nice even car, which is my dream goal. We're gonna wrap these over fenders now. Joel's asking me how quick can I wrap one of these fenders. 7:22 right now. I'm gonna say 15 minutes. You know I can rap better than this, but I want to point out why I'm not. Look at that. That looks like an air bubble. That's not. That's the paint underneath. That's how bad it is. This car just needs to be redone. So I had the choice, and I chose this. I would never do this otherwise, but I'm hoping that everybody at Grid Life is like, hey, a race car is a show car. Let's see what it looks like with the outer wrapping off. Yeah, it actually makes the car look pretty good from a distance. But it's always been a 10-footer anyway, so it is what it is. But you start to get the vision. You start to
Now
see
it's
what
like an 8-footer.
Yeah, you can get a little bit closer. It's almost zombie mode, and that's where you get a lot of work done, and it just kind of all blurs. That's where I'm at right now, and I'm going to begin wrapping the front bumper. This car is going to have just sections of random wrap, just because they were the trashiest parts of the car, but at least this one will be the final one where the car actually looks one consistent color.
What's wrong?
I may have set that down facing the airline. Melted the airline.
Nice. Oh, that's what that hissing is?
That's what that hissing is. So that's 2 hours in, and it's atrocious, but for the sake of having a bumper that kind of starts giving you the idea of what the car could look like. So there you go, there's the top half of the bumper. Tons of shit on the bumper, but at least it makes the car look a little bit better. The guys with the lower roll angle, control arm, cool stuff, the ball joints and everything, they showed me that there is a function on here. And I've always been looking at total weight, but there's also supposed to be, well, there's supposed to be cross weights, but right now that is not the case on this. It's a base model, but it's an easy number to calculate. But I want to see just a real quick, no compromise, no setup, just see 2,800 pounds. And now that I weigh 15 pounds less than I did last time I jumped in it, this is kind of promising that the front corner is heavier and that rear corner is heavier because it's going to crisscross as soon as I get into the car. But that's our numbers right now without me in it. This is wildly promising. A lot of the work we did to try and shift things around, the fronts are equal. And
That's
then
really good.
the rears are where we start seeing the difference. I spent an hour last night after everybody left working on this, and the numbers are much closer. Now, I'm not wearing my helmet and all that other sort of shit, so don't be too pedantic, but look at this. 24.8 plus 25.6, that ends up being 50.4. So it's a percentage and a half less than it was before on these two. It's wild because I'm actually seeing numbers that I wasn't expecting. Look at how close all these numbers are side to side. Much better balance than it was before. So I'm going to keep working on it, and we'll see if we get a little bit closer. I'm a huge fan of keeping my cars completely bare, but for Valvoline, I'll make an exception. I forgot to get the bigger ones made, and so this is all I have right now. Okay. There we go. So you guys are gonna see everybody else with really cool like V's and like just like even like how the 4Rotor's got a big Valvoline logo on there. Don't think that this is any representation of how little I love Valvoline. This is how much I love it. We're just very bad at planning.
You want to explain what happened to our trailer?
No, Joel. You know, oh man, you're running out of tape on that. Okay, so I kind of shuffle those like things. Like I get in this train of mindset of like I need to get this car corner balance and all that. Completely forget all my like mature adult responsibilities. Long story short, U-Haul couldn't come through on a trailer at the last second because I didn't plan.
I've been telling you every day.
Yes, Joel has been telling me every day, and I've been and that bit me in the ass. Everybody's gonna stare at it because they're wondering what that is. We're all kind of like with certain small details of the car. The best way to visually represent this car is this. You just keep going to, right? You keep going to do that. I'll just get the headlight thing working. Okay, well, oh shit, that's gonna require the whole like thing being recut and welded and fiberglass. Okay, well then I'll get this. Okay, it's constantly that fucking over and over. I'm tired of it. I need Abe's help badly. We're all a little strung out just because we've gotten so much done so quickly, and they're all small things that make you feel like you did nothing. But We have a complete car. We're gonna fire it up, and then I'm gonna do my big square around the place and kind of rip on it there too, since it's later and there's no traffic on those roads, just to really see if anything pops, breaks, does something, instead of going 2,100 miles. And we're gonna listen to what she has to say. Getting all those speed sensors working. This car starts at 2 miles an hour and tells you exactly what it's doing. It is so crisp. It's a dream for me.
Handling feel better at all?
You know what's weird? Going up that lip, it felt like it was wobbling. I'm gonna go ahead and trust my tune for the moment. Save it, and then I don't want to have Joel have to handle the camera and the laptop, so we're just gonna go for the street, see the general feel of the car, look like a drunk driver, but really testing the limits of the car. Okay. 2, 3. That is so nice to me. She's low. Just square.
Feels better.
Yeah, everything feels good. Shot a rock right in my face. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, look at it. Perfect timing to be loud. Yeah, he's gonna know the sound. Fans are turning on like they should.
I saw the blue on the camera. And
Yeah,
I was like,
I thought we were gonna get pulled over. There's some weird vibration. I'm gonna get this.
Is she a little dirty or was that you?
That's the car. That popping is actually traction control kicking in, knowing the rear tires are braking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it sounds sick, but it's actually keeping itself from going harder because you're not punching. Yeah, she doesn't like braking traction. That was the goal of the traction control system.
You did too good of a job.
Yeah, she's definitely darty though. We got some really good data. This is really good information. Oil temperature's at 183 and climbing. I didn't turn the fans on. Engine coolant temps are 168. She really limits herself with the traction control. It almost is too much. It's so much air. It's coming around.
So they just must be plugged in wrong or wired wrong.
I was gonna wire the fans to reverse them and all that. Listen, that click, click, right? Wheel bearing's bad. So thankfully I have that spare one that I had on my counter for showing off the ABS stuff, but that explains a little bit of shifts in how the car handles. Perfect thing to check before we head out. And while Joel's editing the Simply Safe ad, I wanted to show you, even though this is a rear-wheel drive car, there's a little axle stub inside here that's really funny to see. No all-wheel drive, and yet there's an axle in there. Thankfully, I got one of these. That's a lot more firm nut. When you change the roll center, so we did those extended roll center things instead of the stock ones, that changes my bump steer again. So it like reintroduced bump steer. So now I have to make the bump steer thing accurate for the new setup. It's this cat and mouse game of small stuff. If you guys have ever done anything like that, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to explain it. I'm pulling this further down because the roll center thing pulled the whole system up. I have to undo what we just did without taking that part out, because that's the part we want.
Yeah, it's backwards.
That's hilarious. They're cold. Yeah, ice cold. It's 200 degrees on the engine though. So what triggered me to realizing that we just have a simple mistake, and it could be labeled wrong, I don't even care, is that it would stay at 130, 140 degrees oil temperatures all day long. As soon as I start pushing, it's 170, as soon as I went to 180, shoots up. So this whole situation is a little bittersweet because I found out that this works in reverse of what I thought it worked like. You see this is sticking out. When it heats up, it does actually penis. It's hilarious. If I crush it in there right now and heat this area up with the heat gun, it comes surging right out like a massive erection. The problem is, it's both the design of this thing and our car. Look at that. Oil can get all the way around that, which is probably a safety factor for them. It's like, oh, if an oil cooler fails or plugs or something like that, bypass it a little bit. But the problem is that our setup has 2 oil coolers in series, meaning that you go through one oil cooler, resistance, go through another line, and then go through another oil cooler, more resistance. So the pressure loss, or the back pressure, if you want to think of it that way, is tremendous. We should be running 2 coolers in parallel. So a line comes off, goes to both coolers, then comes through each cooler at the same time, and then goes and Y's back in. That would prevent a lot of power loss, which this car makes a lot of power, so that's not a problem, but it's a pressure loss that is causing this thing to just say, well, screw that. Going that path is not as easy as going around this washer, which is still difficult, but easier than our oil coolers. That explains why the oil coolers are absolutely cold. The device is working as intended. It just sucks that it's not perfect for us.
So Rob got this tow hook because monsters just get towed. Let's not lie. Came out really disgusting, but we're about to leave and just try to get it done quick. It has the threads in there, so now when we do need to tow, you just gotta screw this guy on, and then
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
yeah, there's the quickest, easiest way to do it.
So with the CC Fab Labs lower control arm solution, we keep finding more problems with the old parts of the cars. Oddly enough, we found that phase 2 is actually like 5 miles from us. This is not the route I wanted to go, but it's the route I had to go. These are adjustable arms. I actually don't give a shit about that part. That's not what I want them for. And in fact, I'm just gonna almost mirror the way that the stock arms are. But it's mostly so I have a clean, brand new upper ball joint. Pretty straightforward, I mean, interesting. It's just chunks of probably chromoly. Very straightforward, just time joints. I mean, it's really a basic setup. We'll install these at the track. $480 is expensive for what it is, but it's also the convenience factor of what I need right now. Honestly, these race ramps are just cheating. This whole process is 10 times easier, but we're gonna make sure the car's stable, solid, because we're just gonna haul ass straight to Michigan from California. A couple of these things kind of held us back, but we're headed to our normal schedule, if that makes sense. We might miss a thing with Valvoline, which really sucks because it's like the whole group gets to hang out, but we'll try to make that time up somehow.
He brought the whole thing over here by himself.
My forearms were breaking in half, but it was like, I got it. What is this? This is actually the transmission for this car that we absolutely shattered. You saw earlier in the videos. Tremec makes these, but Liberty is the one that does all the fine tuning, and then Liberty is about 15 minutes from my house back in Michigan. So we're gonna go drop this off instead of doing all the freight. Might as well do it ourselves and save them and us the money.